Picture a medieval castle. Stone walls 3 feet thick. No insulation. Windows that are basically holes in the wall. Outside temperature, -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Now picture your modern home. Insulated walls, double pane windows, central heating. Yet when the power goes out for 12 hours in winter, you're wearing 3 coats and can see your breath indoors. In 1347, the Great Hall of Warwick Castle maintained 65 degrees during England's coldest winter on record. No electricity, no furnace, no thermostat. The castle held hundreds of people comfortably warm while outside, people froze to death in their poorly built homes. How is this possible? What did medieval builders understand about heat that we've completely forgotten? Walk through a modern home under construction and you'll see what the building industry calls progress. 2x6 studs filled with R19 fiberglass insulation, vapor barriers, foam board sheathing, Tyvek wrap. The walls are designed to slow heat transfer. But here's what thermal imaging reveals. Your modern home is hemorrhaging heat at every penetration point, every outlet, every window frame, every door seal. The average new construction home has air leakage equivalent to a 3 foot by 3 foot hole in your living room wall. The fundamental problem is thermal mass, or the complete absence of it. Modern homes are built with materials that have almost zero heat storage capacity. Half-inch drywall, thin siding, hollow stud cavities. These materials slow heat movement, but they cannot store heat. The moment your furnace stops running, there is no reserve, no buffer. Just thin barriers between you and freezing temperatures outside. Modern construction has created complete dependence on active heating systems. Your home is essentially a tent with better wind protection. It requires continuous energy input to remain habitable. The statistics are brutal. During a winter power outage at 20 degrees Fahrenheit, the average modern home drops 1 degree every 40 minutes. Within 12 hours, you're at dangerous temperatures. Pipes freeze, families evacuate. Medieval castles? Records from Bodiam Castle in 1385 show that after extinguishing all fires at night, interior temperatures remained above 50 degrees for over 18 hours, even when outside temperatures dropped below freezing. No power required, no ongoing fuel consumption, just intelligent design working with the physics of heat. The foundation of medieval warmth was the walls themselves, not as barriers, but as batteries. Castle walls range from 8 to 15 feet thick. A single cubic foot of limestone weighs 165 pounds. 10-foot section of castle wall contains approximately 12,000 pounds of stone. Stone has high thermal mass. It absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly. During the day, fires, body heat, cooking, and even weak winter sun warm the stone. That heat soaks deep into the mass. At night, when external temperatures plummet, those walls radiate stored warmth back into interior spaces for hours. The thermal lag can exceed 24 hours. Medieval castles did not use fireplaces as we know them. The Great Hall featured a central open hearth, positioned in the middle of the room. No chimney pulling heat straight up and out. Instead, smoke rose to the ceiling, spreading heat throughout the upper volume before venting through a louver or roof opening. This design was brutally efficient. Radiant heat spread in all directions. The stone floor absorbed heat from below. Wall-mounted braziers and portable charcoal heaters supplemented the main hearth, creating layered heat zones. The smoke itself carried heat into the upper spaces before escaping, warming the ceiling stones which then radiated downward. The architecture trapped and directed heat strategically. High ceilings allowed hot air and smoke to rise away from occupants while still transferring heat to stone overhead. Thick tapestries on walls did not just decorate, they created an insulating air gap between cold stone and living space. Galleries and upper floors benefited from rising heat, creating warmer sleeping areas above the main hall. Personal sleeping quarters were intentionally small. Bed chambers measured 10 by 12 feet, not for lack of space, but for heat retention. Smaller volumes require less energy to warm and hold heat longer. 4-poster beds with heavy curtains created micro-environments. Your body heat trapped inside the curtained enclosure could raise the temperature 10 to 15 degrees above the room. Add heated stones wrapped in cloth placed at the foot of the bed, and you had hours of warmth. Braziers were the medieval space heater. These metal vessels held charcoal, which burns hotter and cleaner than wood. Charcoal produces minimal smoke and consistent heat for hours. A well-made brazier could keep a small chamber at 60 degrees all night on a single load of coals. They were portable, safe when used correctly, and could be moved to wherever heat was needed most. Records from Westminster Palace in 1252 show an order for 120 braziers for winter use. This wasn't luxury, it was standard practice. Braziers allowed precision heating. Why warm an entire castle when you can warm the specific room you occupy? Not all stone is equal for thermal mass. Medieval builders preferred limestone and sandstone for interior walls. These stones have high specific heat capacity. They can absorb large amounts of thermal energy per pound. Limestone has a specific heat of 0.22 British thermal units per pound per degree Fahrenheit. Compare that to drywall at 0.26, but weighing a fraction as much. The mass multiplies the effect. Dense, fine-grained stone was selected for areas nearest living spaces. Coarser stone with air pockets was used for outer walls where insulation mattered more than heat storage. This layering created a gradient. Outer walls slowed heat loss, inner walls stored and radiated heat. Charcoal was the premium heating fuel. Making it was an art. Wood is slowly heated in low oxygen environments until volatile gases are driven off, leaving nearly pure carbon. The result burns at over 1100 degrees Fahrenheit with almost no smoke and minimal ash. 1 pound of quality charcoal provides twice the heat of 1 pound of wood and burns 3 times longer. For indoor heating where smoke control matters, charcoal was essential. Castle records show massive stockpiles. The Tower of London in 1285 stored over 50 tons of charcoal for winter heating. Tapestries were functional technology disguised as art. Thick woven wool, often layered multiple pieces deep, hung 6 to 12 inches away from stone walls. This created a dead air space, one of the best insulators available. The fabric also absorbed moisture, preventing condensation on cold stone, which would draw heat away. Modern testing of period-accurate tapestries shows they can reduce heat loss through walls by 30 to 40%. They also dampened sound and blocked drafts. A well-appointed hall with full tapestries could feel 10 degrees warmer than bare stone with the same heat input. The simplest heat storage technology, rocks. Smooth river stones or purpose-made bricks were heated in the hearth fire, then wrapped in cloth and placed in beds, under cloaks, or at writing desks. A 10-pound stone heated to 200 degrees and wrapped well will radiate useful warmth for 6 to 8 hours. This was universal technology. Rich and poor alike used heated stones. The difference was only in the wrapping material, silk for nobles, wool for commoners. But the physics worked the same for everyone. Medieval people did not heat their homes to modern comfort levels. They heated themselves. The strategy was layering. A fully dressed person in winter wore 7 to 8 layers: linen undertunic, wool shirt, padded gambeson, outer tunic, cloak, hood, gloves, and wool hose. Each layer trapped air, nature's best insulator. The materials mattered. Linen against skin, wicked moisture away. Wool provided insulation even when damp. Fur linings for the wealthy added another thermal barrier. A person dressed this way could remain comfortable in a 50-degree room, a temperature that would feel unbearable to us in a t-shirt and jeans. Privacy was a luxury few could afford, but communal sleeping was also practical thermal engineering. Entire families shared beds. Servants slept in groups. Body heat, multiplied by 4 to 6 people under heavy blankets in a curtained bed, could raise the internal temperature 20 degrees above the room. This wasn't just about warmth, it was survival. In the coldest months, isolated sleeping could mean death. Clustering was a heating strategy that required no fuel, no fire, just human biology and smart enclosure design. Medieval households structured daily activities around heat. Mornings began in the kitchen, where cooking fires had been running since dawn. Work that could be done indoors happened in the warmest rooms. Outdoor work was saved for midday when sun and activity kept bodies warm. Evenings centered on the great hall and its hearth. This was social, but also practical. One large fire warming many people is far more efficient than many small fires in separate rooms. Entertainment, dining, and socializing all happened where the heat was. At night, fires were banked, partially smothered to burn slowly, not extinguished. This preserved coals for easy rekindling and provided low-level heat for hours. Heated stones were refreshed from banked coals and placed in beds. Then came the layers: heavy wool blankets, fur coverings, and closed bed curtains sealing in warmth until morning. Building a castle with 10-foot thick stone walls required decades and enormous expense. The labour cost alone would bankrupt most projects today. A single skilled mason could lay approximately 30 cubic feet of stone per week. A modest castle required 300,000 cubic feet of stone. That's 10,000 weeks of mason labour, or 200 masons working for an entire year. Modern stick frame construction is optimised for speed and low initial cost. A crew of 6 can frame an entire house in 2 weeks. The walls go up in days, not decades. When construction speed and upfront cost are the priorities, thermal mass becomes impossible. You cannot build 8-foot thick walls quickly or cheaply. For most of the 20th century, energy was absurdly cheap. In the 1960s, heating a poorly insulated house cost $200 per year. When fuel is that inexpensive, there's no economic incentive to design for passive thermal performance. Just burn more fuel. Install a bigger furnace. The inefficiency doesn't matter if energy is nearly free. Today, that calculus has changed. The average American home spends $1,200 to $2,000 yearly on heating. As energy costs rise, the lifetime operating cost of a modern home far exceeds what it cost to build. A medieval castle required enormous upfront investment, but minimal ongoing fuel. A modern home appears cheap to build, but becomes a money pit over 30 to 50 years. Building codes and architectural education focus almost exclusively on R-value, thermal resistance through materials. There is virtually no discussion of thermal mass, heat storage, or passive systems. Engineers are trained to solve heating with active mechanical systems, not with building design. The few modern buildings that incorporate high thermal mass, rammed earth homes, concrete structures with passive solar design, perform remarkably well. They maintain stable temperatures with minimal heating and cooling. But this knowledge is considered alternative or niche, not mainstream practice. We've forgotten how to build for thermal performance without machines. Medieval systems were resilient. They worked during sieges, famines, and disasters. No supply chain, no grid dependency, just stone, fire, and knowledge. Modern homes are fragile. They are comfortable only as long as external systems function perfectly. When those systems fail, habitability collapses within hours. We're not guessing about medieval thermal performance. We have records. The household accounts of Westminster Palace from 1275 detail fuel consumption, room occupancy, and even complaints about cold. During the winter of 1309, one of the coldest on record, interior temperatures in occupied halls ranged from 58 to 68 degrees, with fires burning only 6 to 8 hours per day. Archaeological evidence confirms this. Excavations at Bodiam Castle revealed hearth designs, charcoal deposits, and even soot patterns on walls that tell us how heat moved through spaces. Analysis of wood consumption in storage records shows castles used far less fuel per square foot than modern homes, despite heating larger volumes. In 2003, a team in Scotland built an accurate 1:4 scale model of a medieval Great Hall using period techniques. They equipped it with sensors and subjected it to winter conditions. With a central hearth burning for 4 hours, then extinguished, interior temperature remained above 55 degrees for over 14 hours, while outside temperature was 25 degrees. Thermal imaging showed exactly what medieval builders understood intuitively. The stone walls absorbed massive amounts of heat during the burn, then released it slowly. The thickest sections of wall, nearest the hearth, remained warm to the touch for 18+ hours. The heat radiated inward, maintaining livable temperatures long after the fire died. When tested against a modern insulated structure of the same size, the results were startling. The modern structure heated faster. reaching target temperature in 45 minutes versus 2 hours for the stone structure. But when heat sources were removed, the modern structure lost heat catastrophically. Within 6 hours, it was within 5 degrees of outside temperature. The medieval structure lost heat gradually over 24 hours, creating a shallow, manageable decline. This thermal flywheel effect meant occupants had time to respond. You could let a fire go out overnight without waking to freezing conditions. In a modern home, that's impossible. The temperature crash is rapid and severe. You cannot build a castle, but you can incorporate thermal mass principles. Concrete floors with radiant heating store and release heat gradually. Interior brick or stone walls in main living areas act as thermal batteries. Even thick plaster over framing adds meaningful mass. Passive solar design pairs thermal mass with south-facing windows. Winter sun heats exposed concrete or tile floors during the day. At night, that stored heat radiates back into the space. This can reduce heating loads by 30 to 50% in the right climate. Medieval builders used weak winter sun the same way. Every bit of free heat mattered. The medieval practice of heating only occupied spaces makes economic sense today. Close off unused rooms. Lower the thermostat in bedrooms. Use small, efficient space heaters where you are. Instead of maintaining 70 degrees in 2,000 square feet, maintain 68 degrees in the 400 square feet you're actually using. Smaller, well-insulated spaces require far less energy. A 200 square foot bedroom with good insulation and a small heater uses a fraction of the energy of central heating an entire house. Medieval bedchambers were small for a reason: thermal efficiency. The easiest lesson: dress warmer indoors. Lowering your thermostat from 72 to 65 degrees can cut heating costs by 15%. Add a wool sweater and slippers, and 65 feels comfortable. Use heated blankets and mattress pads for sleeping. They use a fraction of the energy needed to heat an entire house overnight. Medieval people weren't tougher than us. They just adapted their clothing to their environment. We've been conditioned to expect tropical indoor temps in winter, which is neither necessary nor sustainable. Modern homes need resilience planning, a propane or kerosene heater that works without electricity, thermal curtains for windows, wool blankets rated for cold weather. Designate one small room as a warm refuge if power fails. Seal it well, add a safe backup heater, and store sleeping gear there. Medieval castles had inherent resilience because their heating systems didn't depend on external infrastructure. We can't fully replicate that, but we can reduce our fragility. The goal isn't to live like medieval people. It's to borrow their principles of thermal management, material choice, and strategic heating. Medieval castles stayed warm through a complete system: massive thermal mass storing heat, central hearths radiating efficiently, strategic architecture trapping and directing warmth, layered clothing and communal sleeping, and portable heat sources targeting specific needs. It wasn't one trick. It was integrated design that worked with physics, not against it. We abandoned these principles for speed and cheap construction, counting on endless cheap energy to compensate. As energy costs rise and grid reliability declines, the weaknesses of modern building are becoming painfully obvious. We traded resilience for convenience, and now we're paying for it every winter. You don't need a castle to apply these lessons. Add thermal mass where possible. Heat the space you occupy, not the whole house. Layer your clothing indoors. Plan for backup heating. Understand that insulation without mass is only half the solution. The knowledge medieval builders had still works. We've just forgotten how to use it. If this changed how you think about your home, hit that like button and subscribe. We're uncovering forgotten medieval knowledge that solves modern problems.